SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
I Speak Jeep. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. We thank you. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast by SFJ 4x4. This is episode 30. I am your host, Neil, with SSJ4x4.com. And you are?
Mad scientist Scott Brown / organizer today.
The maddest of scientists, the professor, the celebrity. How are you? Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy
to you.
Juneteenth, right? We were just having that full conversation. It was a busy weekend.
Very busy.
I didn't feel like I weekended much. Because I pulled a few weeks straight with Bantam and all that kind of stuff, and so I spent the better part of Saturday in a zombie state, and catching up with laundry.
I heard you took an involuntary nap.
That was bad. I was bad. I think that was actually Friday.
Yeah.
I fell asleep sitting upright.
Yeah, you've done that before.
I have done that before. This is life. I only get to do this life one time.
Yes.
And I'm trading this ragged old body in. When it's done, I'm coming skidding in like you've just tumbled off of a rock pile.
You probably will.
I probably will. That would be the best way to go. I can think of one other better way to go.
Oh,
but
boy.
I'm
honey.
giving this up. You know what I mean? I'm going to give this body up totally broken down. So
I feel mostly broken already.
it is. Well, that's because I'm getting every ounce out of life that I can get. Every single little bit of an ounce. Good morning, Mrs. Brown. Folks, it is so nice to be with you, and we appreciate all three of you listening to us and engaging in all things Jeep and automotive. It is important. So I'm repping right now the I Speak Jeep podcast shirt. I had this. I made sure to wear this again this week. This can be your shirt, not the one off my. I mean, I would give you my shirt off my back.
You totally would too.
I would, but we do have this production run of shirts, and then we have that really cool. Nope, on this side, that really cool
handprint
on the back. So it's just a really neat looking shirt, and so that can be yours if you'd like, and those will be up on the website very soon, and you can rep the I Speak Jeep podcast, and it's cool because it just says I Speak Jeep. So if you're a Jeep junkie and a nut about all things Jeep and off road related, it's just a cool shirt. Also, we have these cool stickers. I have mine on the coffee cup, and so you got the mad scientist right there, and me looking dapper as always. And those are very cool stickers. $4.19, and you support the show, and we appreciate every bit of that support. We have a very cool show because we're going to be talking about we're going to be honoring our dads. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking about, our experience with them and how they kind of prepared us to be in this position that we're in. And obviously, God rest your father, and we'll talk very honorably about him. We can probably joke on my dad a little more because he's alive and well with us. So we'll do that. And then also in honor of Father's Day, we're going to be talking about flashlights.
Yes.
So we have Vanna White Hands, and what's that?
It's another flashlight.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can't you tell what brand it is? Whose it is?
Yeah. Sure. Is that really a Milwaukee pen light?
It is.
No way. All right. It'll be the most unofficial review of flashlights you've probably ever heard.
And biased.
And incredibly biased. And honestly lacking pretty much any type of factual content. But
so therefore you'll enjoy it.
But I mean, what better product to review or to talk about?
And we've abused some flashlights.
We have.
Right, Jeff?
Yeah, we've got a story to share with that one.
Yes. So stories and some pictures. And so again, we'll be talking about, because everybody has that story about holding the flashlight for their father figure in their life. So, with no further ado, how's the 36 treating you?
The 36, I've actually haven't done a lot, sadly, but I did get to.
Chuck. I'm sorry. Chuck says I have a Streamlight for sale, cheap.
Oh boy.
Which we'll talk about here in a second.
Oh no. Anyway, so I realized that, as I cut most of the guts out of the floor of the car, I probably ought to put some reinforcement back. So I've had this old bed frame leaning against the corner of my garage for a while because we were gonna throw it away, and as Neil knows, you don't throw away steel.
No, it's angle iron.
It's angle
That's
iron?
angle iron. That's not steel. That's angle iron.
It just
is
has
what
these
that is.
annoying wheels in the way.
Nah,
so
just lop those off.
So I did that, and I have a brace going from B pillar to B pillar,
Nice.
and A pillar to A pillar, and then I have 2 stringers going from each of those, making it like a box. Because I'm trying not to make it completely impossible to get in there and work, and then I'm going to do one side at a time. So once those are welded in, and it's kind of funny, I got it all right to the welding part, and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
No,
We quit.
you were just over it at that point.
It was last week was a little warm, and
It was a little warm. I was sweating in places I didn't know I could sweat.
and so I was kind of like, morale was low, and so right now it's all clamped up. My fear tonight is
Pretty comfortable
pretty
evening.
comfortable evening. So I'm gonna burn that all in tonight, kind of tack it in, and then hack some more floor out of the way, and then I'm gonna make the patch panels bend to my will. Because
And I was wondering if we've talked about oil canning in the past. I was wondering what your concerns with.
actually,
of
that's part of it. There's some floor bracing that has to get surgically removed from old rusty floor and then expertly welded onto sort of right patch panels. And I bought these patch panels a long time ago, and this was before bead rollers and English wheels graced my garage. So now I look at them under a different light. So they might need some
Need some
massaging
massaging, huh?
before they go in.
Have you purchased a sandbag yet?
So my wife got me one for Father's Day.
Oh,
And then we filled it with
fantastic.
sand in the backyard.
nice,
As
nice.
as a team.
Well, happy Father's Day.
Yes. As my kids played video games in the house.
I heard you took some revenge this weekend too.
I did. Yes, there was something that had to be righted. Because I lost a week. I was really confused last podcast. My son's birthday is actually this Saturday, not.
Oh, we've got a picture of.
Yes. I took care of it. That branch that got me.
What did that branch do to you?
It smacked me upside the head and made me lose a week.
That's the one that tried to knock him off the bee.
Yes.
Oh.
They won't do that anymore.
That's from last week's story
Yes.
of you hitting that
With my
solidly with your head.
Yes.
So you.
I cut it.
What is your chainsaw again?
It's a little Cobalt electric, 12-inch bar.
So it took about 20 minutes for you to cut that.
No,
piece
no,
of that
it was a smaller branch, so it was like. My wife won't let me get the Milwaukee saw yet, so I gotta keep going, keep
I
it
don't
on.
understand how she thought that was more cost effective was to buy a whole nother battery and saw system.
No, she didn't. That's
Oh.
why I'm not allowed to.
Well, where did the Cobalt come from?
I've had the Cobalt for years.
Oh, you've just had it for years.
I'm going to tell you though, once you actually get a big kid saw, you're going to appreciate the value of it.
Yeah, I can't bring myself. I mean, if I had pruning to do, maybe I would buy the Milwaukee electric saw.
I feel like it's a good middle step because me and
It's a good hedge trimmer is what it is.
It's a hedge trimmer.
me and small engines don't get along very well. That's why I don't push mow very
I think
much.
that's so funny.
I wedge the rider in the inappropriate places because I don't push mow.
Also, talking about your rider, just because,
I
just so that we can all have our listeners and our viewers can be on the same page with us.
Yeah.
It is so important to notice this. So Scott and I, 12 years ago, it was the summer of like 9, 10.
boy. This
It was
makes
a
it sound way
summer
worse
of
now.
9 or 10. Okay, and we're just young buck new homeowners more or less.
Real excited.
And real excited about life. We had both had terrible or horrible lawnmower experience, right? With
We
these
just kept pushing them in the shapes of mowers, and they would die in the middle of mowing.
in the middle of mowing. Belts
And-
would just grenade off of them.
And we both bought our houses with people not appropriately doing the lawn. Like, well, was yours like an older person as well that owned a house before you, or they weren't mowing half the yard or
Sort
something?
of. Yeah. So the guy actually didn't live in the area, so he was just doing the very
yeah.
bare minimum to have curb appeal.
Where mine, the old man was literally in a home, so they had just basically said the backyard is what it is
Yep.
and let it go.
It's a field.
So I'm mowing with an old used Craftsman mower. It's up to the over the hood, and it's something somebody gave me. And like the steering, you had to turn it like 3 times in order for it to actually start to move.
Oh, and then you got the Cub Cadet, which you thought was the greatest.
I thought
thing.
that was gonna be awesome.
Oh my gosh, you had like a '70s Cub Cadet.
I was on I did hot rod it, and then I found out that you have to do lots of test and tune,
Oh, it was terrible.
and the grass
And
grows
then
a lot.
I had inherited a Cub Cadet, and the reason I had inherited it was because belts
was-
wouldn't stay on
it
the
was
deck.
broken.
It was broken.
Yeah.
and that didn't help.
No.
So we buy our mowers together.
and we went and we looked at multiple trips to stores, looked at decks. We're all snobby talking about like, well, this one has
Oh, yeah.
12.3 horsepower.
just like everybody else sitting around, talking about their Jeep specs and battery capacity and winch pull and all that kind of stuff. Scott and I are sitting around with our little lawnmowers.
and they took me down a peg too. I wanted the 54-inch deck, which Neil got,
Yes.
and I wasn't approved for the 54-inch deck, so I had to get the 48. And that was sad.
But you insisted on having a John Deere mower, despite
Yep.
the fact that MTD very much owned them, and most of their production, 90% or more, 90% or more of
I
their.
have a little sticker. It says proudly made in Tennessee, I think it is, or
That's
something.
not true. That's
Anyway.
just not. It's flat out not true.
Are you sure it's not assembled
So, I
there?
think it's assembled, or it might be
Hey, I
like
saw a
a
happy-
hood is stamped in Tennessee.
It's plastic. So anyway,
It's plastic.
So it's molded.
I buy. You know what? God, we're supposed to talk about everything else, and we're talking
I
about
remember when I
stupid
was
little
shopping,
lawnmowers.
and they showed this happy, it was totally PR, happy face of this lady putting something on a John Deere down there, and I was like, I'm gonna support her, I'm gonna help her out. They still sell my tractor. Yours, the place
That's
you buy
true.
yours is gone.
That's true. Mine is gone. So I bought. So I did all the homework as well, and I went the other direction. I bought a Craftsman, despite the fact
Yeah.
that they too
You
were
bought
owned by
your grandpa's tractor.
right. But I got the 54-inch deck, and I special ordered. This is how geeky I am.
Yeah.
I special ordered a 26 horse Platinum Briggs and Stratton's motor, which they were coming stock at the time with Kohler Command motors. But I did it because of the pre-oiling system that we talked about this morning.
Yep.
And then, folks, just to leave you with
mine
the,
came standard with a Briggs.
I'm not gonna. So the Kohler commands. The Kohler makes a nice motor, but I then hot rodded my Craftsman by finding out the fact that I could actually put an oversized Jeep Liberty oil filter on it. I've been running it for years, and I've been using our high performance oil that we use here.
You're supposed to change the oil filter.
So the whole reason we're telling this story is that I have continued to maintain my
And break it.
and maintain because I've put it into
What's the list? I know I've put one deck belt and blades and maybe an oil filter on my tractor.
So the whole point of the story was to share the fact that after 13 years, nearly 12 or 13 years, you finally changed the blades on your mower.
Yeah, first time off.
How was it even mowing anymore?
It wasn't.
It was
What
just pushing the
I
grass
said I
down.
was
gotta tell
beating
you.
the grass into submission.
I gotta tell you, it was so awesome to mow with after I changed them. And then you scrape all the old grass out of the deck too.
That was your first time doing that?
It's been off, and I did that once
Once.
a couple years
Once in over a decade.
ago. Hey, no
I
Olson?
literally maintain my deck once or twice a year, and I put blades on near once a year as well.
Eh.
Oh my gosh!
And you just run over branches.
I
and
mean,
stuff,
I'm
right?
with them
I
on
do
the
run
blades.
over
I
branches.
definitely am due for blades on mine, but I clean out the deck at least once or twice a year.
I use
It
mine
had
as
a
a
little
brush
sprayer
hog.
thing on it, but I don't ever use that.
No,
I've
I
almost
gave up
ripped
on
that
the
off a
sprayer.
couple times.
I gave up on the sprayer, but I use mine as a brush hog. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, totally.
If I can just chop up
I
some
understand
sticks,
more
it's
now why
easier.
this last big bush I ran over to try to mow and it just popped back up. I was like, I see you. Now I gotta go back for a vengeance. I'm cutting that now.
He's gonna kill his brand new blades.
We
I
should
did
actually talk about what
we were gonna talk about?
Going to talk about versus lawnmowers all day. Though the really important thing about mine, which I really was sold on,
He can't get off the
I can't
topic.
because I was so smitten with my little Craftsman 54-inch deck.
How many
YT,
spindles you put on that?
YT yard tractor.
Oh,
That's
boy.
a YT series 4500.
geez.
Has the oversized tire package.
Everybody's asleep now.
And it's a 6. See, Joel, Dan has been rocking a Kubota 52-inch. Now, is his a zero turn or is his a yard tractor?
Ours are old school.
Ours are like old school yard tractors. I can pull the wagon behind mine. I plow with mine in the winter.
Yeah.
So mine was, instead
have
of a
a
zero
four-wheeler for
turn,
that.
it was a 6-degree turn. So
I remember that whole
do you remember
thing where
that?
my
My
wheels go
spindles.
almost completely sideways.
So mine actually turns like a normal tractor does.
Because that's when John Deere had this rear steer to try to compete with
to try
it.
to compete. So
Yeah.
everybody was trying to compete with the zero turn market as it kind of
Now that I think at this point they gave up.
I think they did. I honestly think they did. Oversized yard diesel. Oh, now I'm
And
just
we're not
jealous.
worthy.
No, now I'm
No.
just jealous. I mean, I've been keeping mine pushed into a well-maintained shape for years, but I obviously beat the tar out of it.
Yeah.
Beat the tar out of it.
I think you have more hours.
I
than
actually
do.
changed the hydrostatic fluid in the rear end.
So here's how we transition. We're just gonna pull up the picture of Neil as a kid.
Oh, that's not me.
Nope.
I'm not in a bonnet. What
Why
Are you sure?
Jeffrey, of all of your quality production things before,
You're the short one, aren't you?
I just assumed with you and your hats that one of those was you.
I'm sweating.
Poor Beth.
Those who can't see, I'm dying here. Oh my God, that's my sisters. Those are my sisters.
This is
Golly, oh my
Before
God.
Neil.
This is BN before
I
Neil.
really hope that one of them can produce a picture of you in a bonnet at this point because
You know what happened.
I know what happened.
With two older sisters, he was totally dressed up like a baby
and his
doll.
fascination for hats. There's no doubt in my mind. At some
I
point.
heard a rumor, just so you guys know, I heard a rumor that there is a club-inspired gift coming our way with some really cool hats.
Ooh.
And I heard that you're getting one as well.
Ooh.
So just it's
I like
whether
presents.
whether that transpires or not. There was through the rumor twice removed. That some cool hats are coming our way because of my my flexion.
Oh boy.
I don't know what word I'm trying to say.
Anyway, so we see we
For
have
hats.
a
I
really
like
cool
hats.
CJ5 here.
Yeah, so Jeffrey trying to move us along in conversation. This is my father's first Jeep, and it was taken on the family farm that we lived on at the time, and that Jeep is a 1971 CJ5, which we actually have in our family still.
It's just black
And
now.
It's black, and it's a full fiberglass kit. And there's the side shot of it. God, I love that farm. That was a beautiful farm out
I don't
south
think
of here.
that is that when it was fiberglass or is that
No,
steel?
so that's a steel body. So those of you who are listening and join us,
Talk about
you know
a 10
what?
footer, man.
I
that
also
thing looked
meant.
good.
Yeah, hold on a second. I also meant to celebrate the fact. I should have said this in the very beginning, folks. At just 30 episodes, we have over 2,000 podcast downloads.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yep.
I mean, we are infantile in our process, and we thank you for your support because we are at over 2,000 downloads, which
So
is
there's
just
more than 3 people.
no.
listening.
It's just 3 people who are downloading a lot of times, and we thank you for that. Yeah, the Jeep looks really good, and so
see the whip antenna all tied down.
yeah, I don't know. Jeffrey took it away from me, but
Yeah.
those of you who
Give
are
it back.
listening,
Give it
and give it back.
I gave it back.
And the reason I was inspired was because I know those people who are listening right now can't see how good this Jeep looks, and so we have a standard steel wheel package, white steel wheels, 15s,
as they should.
and little white steel
Hard top,
and a steel body, and it was kind of a classic
also
70s
known
green.
as a farm oven in the
A
summer.
farm oven. And honestly, it was just a really cool Jeep. Now, my dad bought that in the '80s, actually before I was born. And so it's important to note, folks, that people always wonder, based on the name of the business, Simpson Family Jeeps, they think we're a dealership. B, they think that my parents started something. Or C, that I always like the legend of the fact that we've only ever owned Jeeps and have this Jeep only affiliation, and none of that's actually true. The name is in such to pay homage to the sacrifice that it takes to do something like this, and my parents doing what they did. And so we were very, 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 very poor, and that was living on a poor farm where my parents were both school teachers, and so they needed something to get around in the winter, and so that was the Jeep. And as most CJ5, CJ7s of that era did, it rusted out. Mm-hmm. But it was running great. It was a Dauntless V6, cool Jeep. And my dad sold it to my grandfather, who then did a full fiberglass conversion in the great fiberglass wave of the 80s and 90s. So now it is a glass body, a glass top, a glass everything. And it was really cool is we actually still have that very Jeep in our family today.
It's also on a farm still.
It is on the other family farm.
Yep.
So, and we used to do that, ride in that Jeep as in a hayfield. Honestly, the field that I'm building a house on. And that's the field that we all learned to drive a stick shift in and drive our manual, and we drove that Jeep. So it was a pretty important piece to our family's history, despite the fact that my dad didn't own it for very long. He couldn't, maintain it.
Yep.
And which then started his love affair with like Blazers and K5 Blazer and then an S10 Blazer eventually, and then back into a Jeep. But in honor of Father's Day, that was my dad's first Jeep and a cool experience, and not me in a bonnet, but my sister's.
We'll find the picture.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know it exists.
And it does exist. It does. I know that. I'll just say it now. I'm not even going to pretend that it doesn't.
Yeah, when you have older sisters, it's just
No, I'm a
happens.
mom.
You don't
My
even need
mom.
older
I don't even
sisters
need
for
older
that.
sisters. That was my mom. She was into bonnets. Like that was just. She was a flower child. She was like a flower child, and so. It was long summer dresses and bonnets for everybody.
Yes.
She if she could have lived on a commune, she probably would have singing Kumbaya. Whatever. So yeah, that was my dad's first Jeep, and then he sold it to my grandpa. Pretty important story in our experience, and we still have it. And then we went Jeepless for
The dark times.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, it was 96 when my dad was able to buy another Jeep again. So about 15 years he went Jeepless. And then, so we were that family, as many families do, where we were able to have, we did the Jeep life as a family. And my dad had like a hand-me-down Hyundai when they were first imported into the U.S.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was actually. I would love to get my hands on a little Hyundai hatchback again.
Do they still exist?
I don't know.
We have to go like to California or Arizona to get one.
I would love to do that. I thought, I look back on that. I also like not a Chevette, but a. What's the other? It was slightly bigger than a Chevette, but it was a.
Monza?
Maybe. Was it in a hatchback? Offered in a hatchback?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. We were a big hatchback family. Still like the wagon stuff.
And we were I can't remember now what body style classification is, but we were all the Buick Century, Chevy Celebrity,
right?
Olds, Cutlass,
Dynasty
Calais.
was in there, right?
Yeah, I mean all of those were what I grew up in.
Well, so we did this. I mean, we were always a 4x4 family. Not the fact that we were actually 4x4ing, but we live in northeastern Ohio, and want to be able to pull off into the random ditch or the woods or Chevy Citation. Dave Ammerman, one of our great listeners and viewers from a couple states over.
I let you down.
A Chevy Citation was exactly the vehicle, and oh my God,
wasn't even a blip on my radar.
I would love a Chevy Citation. Or that Hyundai.
They made a racy Citation.
I would buy a Chevy Citation, a race package Citation right now.
X11 had a V6 in it with a stick.
Oh my God, I would. All right, so that was what we had.
Outhandle a Corvette.
What?
Supposedly.
All right. Anyways, that's what we had. And so we were that family who was just obsessed with Jeeps. And we would see it, and my dad would comb through magazines. So we were subscribing to JP Magazine and Peterson's long before we actually even had one again. Because my dad was doing what it took, right? He bought the new vehicle, and he gave it to my mom, and that was more along the sedan line that you're talking about.
Yep.
Dodge Spirit and, Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, that kind of stuff. And then my dad took whatever hand-me-down vehicle that she wasn't driving. And we would just be like, oh, Jeep, that kind of stuff. And my sister, she loved that little blue bomber of a Hyundai, learned to drive in that hatchback. The football team picked it up and turned it sideways in the school parking lot one day.
As they should.
As they should. That just makes perfect sense. That's what you should do with a Hyundai. As a previous stand-up football player, we did that kind of stuff as well. Not to that Hyundai. Because
it was rusted away and gone by then.
No, yeah, right. Which was where all Hyundais. It was the great Hyundai graveyard in the sky. And so anyways, we would just point out every single Jeep that we passed, and that was in the early 90s. And by 96, my dad finally saved up enough coin to buy it was 96 or 97, finally to buy a 95 YJ, 4-cylinder. There it is on screen. It was fire engine red, which he loved. Loved. Yep. And it had it's so funny. By definition, it had a oversized tire package at that time, right? Which
meant it had 235s.
It had like 235s, 75,
rocking
15s.
The big tires.
Yeah, it had the PIA lights on the push bar, right? Total 90s. Yep. When the chrome grill.
Yep.
And that man would sock away, $5, $10, $15 every paycheck, and he would to the point where he had a couple $100, and then we would go down to 4-wheel drive hardware.
Yep.
And buy a little accessory for that Jeep. That was just such an important part of our experience.
Yeah, look at that plate. Back in the day plate.
Yes, right? How cool is that, right?
Yes.
So that was my dad's first. It was a 4-cylinder. It was an automatic. It drove like a dog.
4-cylinder automatic.
You know what? The best part, we still own that when I met my wife in 2002. And so 5-6 years into, after my dad owned it, about 5-6 years in, 2002, 2003, my wife and I drove that topless we weren't topless. The Jeep was topless. Nobody wants to see that from me. And we drove it to South Carolina through the mountains, little 4-banger, foot to the floor the whole time. No top, freezing cold. Jeffrey knows what that's like in the middle of the night. He did he went out this weekend.
44 degrees.
I knew that my wife was a keeper because she kept a blanket on the back of us like a windbreaker as we ran through the mountains.
My wife literally just bundled herself in a blanket and left me to freeze.
Yeah.
Jeffrey went to the movies over the drive-in movies
drive-in.
and drove home topless in the middle of the night.
He went full
off, too.
commit. He took the top off.
He was full commitment. Oh, you couldn't even put it up if you wanted to.
Nope.
It was at home.
I left it home. I took the doors off, and
yeah. He knew he was doing something risky. He's like, I'm not giving it any second chance.
I'm gonna tell a quick story on my sister and I, a different sister than the one who just responded. My dad buys that Jeep in 97. And what do we do? Because God bless my father for not
four-wheel
killing
drive, you
me.
get it stuck.
We took that Jeep immediately. My dad didn't have it for 5 weeks. And we took it immediately down to the sandbar and baha'd the tar out of it. We were just whopping on it like it was a stolen vehicle.
Your poor dad.
And because of course
that trend has kept up too.
And so we're down there, cutting cookies and, splashing through water. EPA, forgive me at that point. And
we're young and dumb.
And so my sister and I do this, and we're running rooster tails, sand and water's flying
as much
all
as
over.
an automatic 4-cylinder can do. Oversized tires.
was not the height of horsepower by any stretch of the imagination. So we get done just being belligerent, inappropriate,
and now we look at what we have made,
and we're like, oh no, like it looks a hot mess. So what do we do? I mean, because we're dumb teenagers, and she's the one with the license, so I'm like, whatever, I'm just the instigator, and we were like, we dug out some coins, whatever we could. and we took it to the car wash, right? So while we're at the car wash, we're trying to wash the Jeep. We're trying to vacuum out the sand. We're trying to do everything we can, right? We bring it back to the house, spotless. My dad is like,
Spotless.
well, right, because obviously we're completely unaware of, because
90% of where it is.
Absolutely, right? 90% of where it that mud and sand and water is caked up under it. And we bring it back to the house, and my dad is like, what did you do to my Jeep? Like, he knew it was up. He knew what was up from the moment we brought it home. Like, you didn't just clean my Jeep.
No.
Like, it was clean when it left. There was no
Yes.
reason for you
To
clean
clean
it
it
more.
again.
Needless to say, we were not allowed to drive that Jeep for a very long time. But a huge credit to my parents was they ran a deal. I'm gonna get on my soapbox. I think they bought my sisters their first vehicles, but they were not cool vehicles. They're listening, so I'm gonna say that to them right now.
Baggage. There's baggage right here.
They got their first vehicles. One was a Nissan. Go figure. And it was a Sentra, and then one was a Mazda 3, I think. But they were like the sedan versions, both manual. My sisters both drove manuals because they were cool like that, and little sedan, fuel economy vehicles. But what did my parents do? Is they said, hey, we'll go halves on Jeeps, and that was a big thing that allowed both my other sister and myself to get into Jeeps early on. Was we bought inappropriate, broken down, derelict project vehicles that we had no business owning. But my parents paid for half. So, that was a lot of paper route and mowing lawns and moving furniture to get to that point. So big testament to my father and his love affair with Jeeps. My mom couldn't care less. She actually hates when they're red because it clashes with the house.
That's so good.
Right? She has a beautiful painted Lady Victorian, and the sconces are maroon, and the house is gray, and fire engine red, which is all of the business. Does not
And you just
match.
constantly keep doing it to her.
I just keep bringing home bright red vehicles.
and your dad too.
My dad and I love fire engine red. That's just what it is. All right, so you have less Jeep stories because Fred hated Jeeps.
He legit hated Jeeps. I remember this story. It's a
But
quick,
God
real quick.
God love Fred and what he has continued to give to us.
Yes.
Just how he has allowed us to be
begrudgingly, but
begrudgingly. Well, if I knew this would be used on Jeeps, I wouldn't have.
yep. So he used to tell a story as a teenager, and he didn't know what Jeeps were or whatever. But there was he went out on the town with the boys and got a little tipsy, and this dock guard or something found him and was taking him home, and he kept having to open the door and do
Relieve
something.
himself
Relieve himself.
of the.
And then they would shove him back in the Jeep and
no.
go a little bit farther.
Oh no,
So that probably didn't help.
that did not help.
And I think it was winter time and it was very cold. And I remember
It was incredibly drafty. I'm
the
sure.
snow and stuff was coming in on him. And so that was where that started.
That's where his
So Jeeps were drafty. They rusted out and really not. He didn't see the point in it.
These are all true things.
And even though he went out and drove plow trucks and plow scouts and made money plowing and all that sort of stuff, four-wheel drives were foolish. That's double the maintenance. Got double the U-joints, double the axle maintenance.
I remember those guys. I
So-
remember those guys.
So then I end up, being interested in Jeeps, and it was like, you just see it.
Yeah.
So because of that, my early years were not with four-wheel drive vehicles. And my first vehicle, which I still have, is a 68 Chevy pickup. And it's actually how my parents met. My dad sold it to my mom, and it never left. And he traded.
When you say he sold it to your mom, it's important for our listeners and viewers to understand. It was sitting, it was out in front of the house. Fred had it for sale. They were
Yes.
not together. They didn't know
Nope.
each other.
That's how they
The
met.
truck was out front, and here's this small block Chevy
Yep.
truck, 68 two-wheel drive, 3/4 ton, right? It's a 20.
It's a heavy half.
It's a heavy half. It was like a camper. It's not quite a camper special. It was a
Yes.
heavy half.
Yep.
It was out front for sale, and
Long
your
bed.
mom had to have it. That's how your parents meet, which is important for people.
Yep.
He didn't make his wife buy it, the truck. That's not it.
Nope. And he had traded a Chevelle and a Vega for it,
Mm-hmm.
and they put rocker panels in it, got the motor running, and put it out for sale. He would just turn vehicles.
He was turning
like that.
vehicles. Okay.
And then this was the one that didn't leave. And she drove it for a little while, and then they ended up getting together, and then, here I am.
That's right.
How
did that happen? No, I don't.
The truck was no
It's
longer
Father's Day. It's time for the birds and the bees conversation.
no longer in service when I was little, and it sat beside the house, and I would play in the bed, which, much to the dismay of my dad, I got yelled at a lot about that. And I might have been on the roof multiple times when
Oh
they
my
weren't
God.
watching,
Why do
which my
kids wanna
kids
be on
now
the
do
roof? Yeah.
too.
Get off the roof. Why are you on the roof of my truck? Why are you trying
Someday when I'm actually painting them, they'll be like, little Scott Prince all over this. Anyway, it was white wheels, if I'm not mistaken, or black, with baby moons and big trucker mud flaps on the back with a step bumper. It was painted white. And,
It was a big truck.
the guards on the front bumper that I immediately removed. And fun story, that's how I learned righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So I'm cranking on this bolt. I'm like, man, it just won't come off. And then it finally broke. And
dear.
it shot the entire length of the truck. And I warped the front bumper, the original front bumper.
Oh, really? Oh, goodness.
So any which way, I wanted the Volkswagen Beetle because I thought that was cheap. And,
Wait
and
a
easy.
second.
And I was
Wait a second. I've known you for
I told this story before.
a Volkswagen Beetle was what you desired.
Yes, I wanted a 66 Bug because it has glass over the
You
headlights.
just stressed me out. Like
And
my
I was
neck
gonna-
got tight.
Oh, just wait.
Okay.
Young Scott was going to stuff a 2.8 or a 3.1 V6 out of all those vehicles I grew up in the back seat of the Volkswagen. Because it's rear-wheel drive, so I'm going to take the whole front cradle
Of course you are.
and stuff it in the back. I thought that was a brilliant idea at the time.
Mad scientist at 14 or 15, right?
And wisely, my mom was like, listen, you could have the truck in the garage if you stop talking about this foolishness. I was like, okay.
Okay. I
'Cause
will take
wanted
the truck.
the vehicle the worst way. So
Oh, goodness.
I started going out, and at this point, it was getting shoved into the garage, and it was this fight with them because the front garage was hers and the back garage was his, and you know where this is going.
Yeah,
That stuff's
yeah.
going. And it was completely full in the bed, the cab's full, and I start taking stuff out, and Dad's like, "What the heck are you doing?" Mom gave this to me. Like, hold on, let me go talk to her.
Yes, he doesn't know.
Well, no, this
Okay.
all happened in the house with him in the shop working. And he's like, okay. So I finished cleaning it out, and we took it to the first car show down the street that had been on the road in probably, at that point, 15, 18 years.
We're talking 98, 99, right? I mean,
Yes. So anyway, we finished cleaning it up. He would always be grudgingly with the start of the project, but then he would enforce and help. So he ended up finding the 71 Chevy pickup and brought that home, and it was a real rust bucket. So we stole the front disc brakes off of that, and he
nice.
had the machine
Wait
parts
a
to make
second.
it work.
Wait a second. Wait a second. You don't have disc brakes on there right now.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Those same ones.
are you serious?
The same pads.
I'm going to take a quick
and
moment. Joe
rotors.
Harper says, howdy, another good show. Not be able to visit this week. I cut my month-long trip in half due to a back issue. Oh, that's killer. I was looking forward to having lunch with you, Joe. We'll have to replan. You got a big build in the future, so we'll make sure. I look forward to figuring that out with you. I thought you were drum all around still.
Mm-mm.
You
That's
just don't
why
have a
it's-
power brake booster.
Correct.
Oh, so it's still disc, but it's manual hydraulic on disc. Okay,
Yep.
so it's still the same. Wait, not the same pattern rotor.
Yes.
Is this the one that you sent the picture to me for?
Yes. So,
Wait
long
a
story
second.
short,
You put pads and rotors from a rusted out
71 Chevy pickup.
71 Chevy pickup
Put new pads and calipers on it. The rotors were fine.
in 99-ish.
Yep. And still driving on those.
We've all had our kids in this vehicle.
We have.
I gotta
How
tell
does
you,
that make you feel, Neil?
if you're listening and you can't hear, there's this really cool. It's a maroon red. It's got a nice kind of a white and chrome grille front end, kind of a chrome tire wheel package.
Just drove it the other day.
I'm sweating.
so
Now
this
I'm
is
sweating.
this
Not
is
that my
the
wife
important
ever
part.
watches it whatsoever, but now I'm like, oh my God, what if she finds out? You know,
oh,
it's
it-
got brakes from 20 plus years ago. Of course, we know they probably work better than today's brakes.
That's
honestly.
true.
And no doubt, this truck, more people stop me when I'm driving your truck and are like, I love that thing. That's so cool. Way to keep them alive and thumbs up. You know what I mean? That kind of, America. And I'm like, okay, I'll make sure I pass that on to Scott.
all the whole time, you don't realize that it has been maintained like my John Deere. But anyway, so the important thing is this poor
That's
truck
20-year-old brakes.
That's 20-year-old brakes.
had a 307, which if anybody knows it's a small block Chevy, that was the dark days of an
307.
armpit of a small block Chevy.
Yes, it was.
And it didn't run well.
But it had a 7 in it, like the 327, so people were easily confused because
Yeah.
they had 305 and 350, and then we had 327 and 307, and they're like, oh, well, it must be a good motor because the 327's so good.
So we went through the suspension. We put the front disc brakes on it, new master cylinder, new brake hoses, put a different rear end in it because originally it was 6 lug, moved it to 5, and I put those wheels that were in the picture, which are Chevy Rallies from Square Bodies, and of course I had the narrow in the front and the 8s
offset
in the
them
back,
without question. You
because
got
you
to
gotta let that 307 roar. And with the stock turbo 400 transmission, and I put Honda bucket seats in it and a console that I'll scavenge out of the junkyard.
Yep.
And me and my dad get in that, and we drive it to Columbus. And we think we're, Cloud 9. It's got the stock fuel tank. Everything's running sweet. That mom, I should have found that picture. Took a nice picture of us in the cab as we're ready to leave. And I'm young Scott, with hat. Basically like I am now, just a
I
little
was going
bit
to say,
skinnier.
you look the same.
And
You look identical.
Dad's got his coffee cup in the cup holder, and we make it down there. I put it in the under 25 club, which is what that picture was him taking a picture of that, and we drive it home, and that's when the fun starts.
Hold on a second, real quick. Is under 25 the truck era, or is it the builder?
It was supposed to be you own the vehicle and you were under 25 years old.
Okay, that's fine. SEMA still has like an age, a builder age. So I didn't know if Good Guys was running a. And it's important to note. I don't think I heard you say that was Good Guys, Ohio.
Yes, that was in
Right?
Columbus.
That's Good Guys, Columbus.
And
so,
and that time, their year range was like cutoff was 73, so everything had to be pre-73.
Good Guys is a pretty big show. If you're a Jeep listener, you
Yeah,
might not
there's-
be aware of the hot rod community and the Good Guys.
There's 4,000 to
following
5,000 cars
at that time. I don't know how big Good Guys is these days.
It's gotten bigger because now that at this point you are allowed to bring, like, we could take Amy 7 to it.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so we're coming up 271, 71 to come home, and I missed a turn at some point, and we ended up coming into downtown Cleveland.
Oh boy.
Because if you take 71 straight up, you end up on Dead Man's Curve. He was not thrilled of that. We tried to stay away from big cities as much as possible, and we're cruising along about East Lake, about where 90 starts metering back down, and the truck starts to slow down on its own.
Oh boy.
And
Oh, boy.
And foot's getting further close to the floor, and I'm like, Dad, I don't understand what's going on. And at some point, we're literally like doing 5 miles an hour down the side of the freeway, and we take the fuel filter off, and it's plugged solid with rust. And I think we had a spare. We put that on it, and it woke it right back up, and we made it to like Madison, and it started doing it again. We're like, oh crap! So we nursed this thing all the way home. Took the trip, made it way longer than it was supposed to be. And the next project we did was we put the fuel tank in it that it now has in the back and got rid of the gas tank behind the seat.
Oh.
But it still was a 307 that didn't like to run or was cold-blooded as all heck. And fun other story with that truck, that's the vehicle me and my wife took on our first date to Lakeshore Park.
That truck is impactful of all the things.
Yep.
Of all the things. And how many, I always tell people, even our customer base, nobody tells stories of when things go like
awry.
When they go well,
Oh.
right? Nobody's like, if you would have been like, oh yeah, we cruised home happily. Like, that's not fun. That's not character building.
No, I was nervous.
Yeah,
and of course I'm a young driver, so like almost wrecked it once and all kinds of fun stuff. And then we got into construction. Dad's sweating bullets over in the passenger seat. He was a good sport.
That's good. That's good.
So then another story I have with another pickup truck was the last project my dad did before he passed was a 41 Plymouth pickup, which we have an in-process picture
Oh
there.
yeah.
And the time when we went to go get that,
Beautiful.
So we went back in the well, they still had the magazine, but it was called Cruisin' Times magazine. There was a classified section in the back, and this guy was a hot shot load runner with flatbed, and he would haul a load out west, and then he would buy up 2 or 3 trucks or cars, put on there and haul them back, and he would sell them once they were here. And obviously the market share is different, so you could get more money out of them here. And Dad had
That was a big thing in the 90s. And I mean, it still is a little bit now, but there was less guys doing it then.
Yes, it was more special.
It was more special. You know.
And Dad had a big thing with 41 was the year he was born, and that was a 41 Plymouth. So and he had tried a couple stalled projects. He had a 41 Ford that he almost did but sold. So this was like, I'm going to do it.
Sure.
And I had lots of crazy ideas, which one of which you could see on the behind the door is a door handle that's silver, a little silver line.
Okay.
We put the door handles in the cab and the pin on the door and reversed it, which if you need to know, that's a pain in the butt. Don't do that. And we ended up putting Jeep Liberty headlights in the fenders to also be weird and different. And it had a 360 Mopar swedged in it with Mustang 2 front end and a 9-inch in the back. But when we originally went and got that truck, it was bone stock. Motor was gone. Transmission was gone. Had the tall, skinny white wall tires with the artillery wheels and hubcaps. And I have 2 older stepbrothers, and we were going with my middle brother in his 92 Chevy full-size extended cab 4-wheel drive, 1500. And we had went to U-Haul, bought it, rented a trailer for the day. We're cruising down the road. And this was down by Canfield area is where the truck was. And all of a sudden I hear the RPMs pick up. And I'm in the back seat. And I look behind us and there's just a white cloud of smoke.
Oh, boy.
And we get over to the side of the road. And all the transmission fluid that the transmission has is belching out between the motor and the transmission. The front seal completely just hemorrhaged and went away.
Oh, dear.
So we made a phone call to a cousin of ours that had a regular cab. This is an important part. Square body dually, 1 ton, long bed. And we hook the U-Haul trailer to it. And we put the full-size extended cab short bed on the trailer, which I got to tell you, that doesn't fit very well.
Wow.
So we had to leave the ramps out that much.
So the rear tires would sit
on the ramps.
U-Haul is super
sorry,
happy
U-Haul.
with you.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And
The reason there are the warning stickers with U-Haul is because of you guys.
so we have my cousin in the truck, my dad, me, and my brother,
Totally. 4 grown men.
and a regular cab pickup truck.
Perfect.
So my brother sat in his truck, reclined the seat all the way back, and rode home
Not.
in the truck, in his truck. And we get to
No, he
his
did
house,
not.
we push it off, and they ended up rebuilding the transmission. And the following weekend, and needless to say, too, I forgot a part, the square body's standard shift. So you got the shifter.
He's rowing the gears between your legs,
Yes.
basically.
And I'm in the middle, of course.
Yeah, you are. You're the smallest.
So
You're the smallest.
So the
he's
next
rowing gears
weekend,
right there.
we I think we still had the U-Haul, or we had to go rent it again. I don't remember that part, but we went and successfully retrieved the Plymouth, and lots of good stories. He was a very comical guy, my cousin. Lots of dry humor that just cracked me up the entire time. But that's the adventures of getting the Plymouth.
Did you take the square body?
Oh yeah, because the other truck had the transmission out of it. It was done.
Okay.
And Jeff did not go for that one. He had my middle brother's name's Jeff too. He had home licking his wounds, trying to figure out how to rebuild his transmission. Which I'm sure Dad helped, but at that point I had no idea.
Yeah,
what
you
was
didn't
going
know
on.
what was going on. I love the fact that he rode home in the truck on the trailer,
Recline back.
It's
It's totally a Simpson move.
It is. I approve of that message.
Yeah.
Oh man, those are the stuff that makes memories, and just solidifies the bond with family. You know, and a testament to our father specifically for making that happen. So if and I'm springing this one on you, you didn't have a chance to think. Do you have a memory or a story, reasonably succinct, about you as a father with your kids? Do you have that where you feel like that's the story your kids are going to be telling yet? Or has that yet to happen? Do you know?
I don't know, because I've found just from talking with my dad before he passed, the stuff that was important to me, and things that was impactful for me, was like, what? That was the important part. So I've kind of already been cognizant that they just need to have all the experiences and all the time, because you don't know when you're going to make the memory.
Mm-hmm.
And you will, and it's either going to be a good or a bad memory, and that's all how you react to the situation, if you make it that or not. It doesn't matter if the truck blew up or the transmission went out or it caught on fire or any of that kind of stuff. It's how you react and how you explain it to your kids that makes the difference. So
that's fantastic. I'm not even gonna chime in, because that is a amazing way to contextualize our experiences, both with our fathers, and then I would say our hope to what we would convey to our kids through this endeavor. You know, through all the things that we've been exposed to professionally as industry experts and in this community. So. We are going to take a quick break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about flashlights, because we all have that story where Dad's like, hold the flashlight here. Hey, Jeep family, we hope that you're enjoying this content, and we want to make sure that you head over to sfj4x4.com, find some of this cool merchandise, give us a call at our facility, 440-813-3663. Option 1. And make sure that you tune in to our live podcast every Monday at 10:19 a.m. and check out our updates on YouTube on Tuesdays and Fridays. Until then, Jeep on. And we're back. So,
And now it's time for our product spotlight.
not sponsored.
Nope.
I wasn't ready.
I would be okay with Milwaukee sponsored me.
We would be okay.
Yeah.
We would be okay. I was actually watching some other professionals do a little bit of work at my house the other day, and they were full DeWalt, and they were just hammering away, going after it. And I thought, we are Milwaukee through and through.
Yes.
And
I tried to be DeWalt when I started here.
I know
Yeah,
you
what
did.
happened?
I
It
know you
did.
did.
I'm a Milwaukee fan now.
Now you're a Milwaukee guy, right? And I'm watching these guys, and they're doing more craftsman type like house contractor stuff. And I thought, this is why DeWalt is still kind of king of the hill in the household goods.
I would agree with
contractor.
that. I think Milwaukee's more of a mechanical automotive.
They
sort of
certainly
thing.
have the automotive professionals, and I think the issue I was noticing with, tools and Father's Day go hand in hand as well. I was noticing with Ryobi is really pushing into the market to, I think, really try and take market share from DeWalt.
I would agree with that.
In the homeowner, home contractor type tooling, whereas Milwaukee's kind of just off on its own still. As king of the tools.
Ryobi's got some really nice packages right now.
They do, right? And I have never met a Ryobi tool that I liked, but
I would agree.
But I also am
They
not
kinda
your
took the-
average. I'm not your average tool guy. So
They kind of took the place of Black & Decker. Like
A good Black & Decker.
everybody's
Yeah.
dad
good
had a Black & Decker.
Right. Good Black & Decker. Back in the day when Black & Decker was a good house. Stanley, Black & Decker. I think now if you're doing a Ryobi, maybe a Rigid, those are still good
Cobalt.
tools. Cobalt.
Yeah, Cobalt's pushed their way in there.
Cobalt has shoved their foot into the door. Again, use Scott's word, begrudgingly. Everybody's like, well, I guess I'll buy Cobalt. The
Yeah.
sale is good, and it's blue.
Yes.
Jeff knows what that's
maybe.
about.
I might
All
have
right.
a few of those blue tools.
All right, so back around to Milwaukee sponsoring us. We are talking about flashlights, right? And Chuck had jokingly said, now, Chuck, I wanted to make sure that I addressed your question or your statement that you have a Streamlight for sale cheap. We promise you that is not our flashlight. So Chuck, in fact, we were actually talking to Greg, our performance mechanic.
He said he'll take it off your hands.
He
for
said
free.
he'll take it. He go, oh, no, yeah, that's that can be mine. He said he was working under the hood and he saw the flashlight under there,
Thought it was yours.
thought it was yours, and so he shoved it back in the engine bay. So Chuck, you would just have a full free Streamlight that who knows, maybe the Jeep was into the dealership at some point in time prior to us, and that's just your flashlight. But Greg will take it. He'll take tips in form of Streamlight flashlights.
He does like Streamlight.
So with that said, I'll actually jump in because I think that I am the only one who has a Streamlight on set right now. This is my pen light, and it is a bajillion lumen. This will be the most non-factual.
We told him that already.
Bias review of of flashlights. I have had this Streamlight for about a year now. It was a major stepping stone in my life to realize that I can't see in shadowed spaces, and I spend a lot of time like inspecting inside wheel wells or down under engine hoods just to I don't know, to force my way in there while the guys are actually trying to do work. And so, so I want to be able to see. It is fully rechargeable. It is super compact. I carry this in my side pocket or in my pen protector pocket. Here.
Specifically, you lose it a lot.
But I actually this is my one and primary one. So I spent years with like the little cheapos from Harbor Freight or Walmart or whatever for a couple bucks. And this has such a phenomenal light output and a focused, clean light that it really changed my ability to see and to do quality inspection work. Additionally, it's just a really robust aluminum case, fully rechargeable with a USB micro USB port. Kind of the end opens up, ports expose, close it up, ports closed up, with a really robust on and off switch. So this was just in its little shape and size right here about at that point in time about $55, which now by today's market is about $300. That's what I can tell. But I still truly significantly highly recommend this type of product for its compact, rechargeable, and its high quality light output in comparison to my incredibly biased reporting previously.
Well, now Scott's got to show his Milwaukee version.
There's his
my
Milwaukee version.
This is not rechargeable. It takes a regular old battery, which I, like all my other maintenance, never change. And I was very proud of it. It still works.
Yeah.
It's even.
We should hear. Let's do our here. Let's. Oh. Yeah. Where's yours at?
Scott, yours does not work. Scott, yours
Mine
does not
hasn't
work.
been recharged in a week. I'm gonna. Well, you know what? For the purposes of just.
Oh, there it is.
There's a Milwaukee light.
There's a Milwaukee with a good 18-volt battery on it.
Oh,
wow. Those of you who are listening,
you see this, Milwaukee?
I'm
you
doing
let me
like
down,
an incredibly non-professional. I'm just shining the light
We've got
at the
the
camera.
Snap-on and Craftsman here too that you can.
Let's bring in Jeffrey. I love when Jeffrey provides stuff for the conversation.
That's
not
actually pretty
bad.
good.
And, see,
That's not
and that
bad.
one's the one that's the one that turns into a 90-degree angle.
And no.
So
it stopped
you know
working.
what I really like about
It
Jeffrey's?
stopped working. It's like I can't take it.
You can't take it. It's like I bow out. I'm not worthy, and I'm scared.
I know.
The Milwaukee, the Streamlights have concerned me. Now here's what I like. Oh my god! Wait a second. Let me show Jeffrey's. Right, this is Jeffrey's version of a pocket light, and
This is a flashlight, right?
that's a flashlight. Sure. This is really cool. So, and it's actually got a magnetic base as well, which.
I see a Craftsman.
Right, Craftsman doing a nice LED package, and Dad would yell less because now he could just position it where he wants in a variation of angles.
Or you just turn the sun on and put this on the spot.
Yeah. So do you want to explain what that is? Since those of you who are
so this is more mechanical stuff. This hangs off the hood, or you can wedge it underneath a dash or underneath a vehicle, what have you.
That's actually a Matco product there, right?
Has a swivel thing here. This is rechargeable, so you don't have a cord.
A swivel thing here.
That's
Hey,
official
fully
terminology.
It's very technical. The charger port is here, and tells you, has a little button that shows you how much battery life it has.
Nice.
And it actually has a little shield. So you can
wow! You're going to blind yourself. That's workman's comp claim right there.
cover it up if you want to.
Oh, you can reduce and
And then it has a little dimmer and then off.
very cool product there.
And the early years of the podcast, that lit up behind us.
We did. We used that in the studio space. You're right.
Yeah.
But we obviously use that as an underhood light, and so a number of people will be working, especially if you're in a less well-lit garage,
Well,
or
if
you're
you're
on
not
the trail.
working on a Jeep, that the hood can go up against the windshield.
True that. And so that's a nice, a really nice product to illuminate your workspace. And then we have the Snap-on. Whose
Most
is this?
durable flashlight.
Whose is this?
That's mine.
So what happened to this, Jeffrey? I mean,
I might have left it on an exhaust when we were turning the car on, or the Jeep, and I went, "Where's my flashlight?"
And what was it? What was it doing? Because like
Cuddling with the catalytic converter is what it was doing.
we can,
And it still works.
and it does, right?
And
So-
you can warranty that sucker.
Wow.
Because I have 2 of those. Because I lost the first one. And it was
Which
such
I found,
for
what?
me later.
like, what, a year later or
Yeah,
something?
maybe.
What's really fun about a number of these, especially when they have a magnetic base like this, we leave them underneath customers' vehicles, and then they drive away.
The whole backside of that's magnetic, too.
The backside, and
Yeah.
and they drive away, and then they come back in, and the flashlight comes with them. Yay!
Yeah. And mine was actually Neil's middle sister, Beth. She has a Liberty, and it may have been cuddling with the engine for a very long period of time.
Like a year.
And after I charged it, it still worked. But it was very chewed on.
So you know what I think is fun about these flashlights is that we all have that experience of trying to hold the flashlight. And again, flashlight technology 20, 30 years ago was these big D batteries.
All my dads had cords on them.
Yeah, I was going
Or
to
the
say
work lights, yeah.
the work
Yeah.
lights, right? And so I would literally was just Jeff and I was throwing some old work lights out the other day, and I was like, man, I feel bad because like that's what we had, that's what we used, and I
If
just
you dropped it, broke the bulb.
you dropped
Or
it, the
if
ball
you touched
broke,
it, you burnt yourself.
had the
Oh,
metal
yeah.
cage, and so it just seared your arm that you
Yeah.
accidentally
My dad's were
leaned into.
actually fluorescents, but we got rid of the cage bulb ones a long time
you did.
ago.
Of course you did.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that. No, this is the you're
Triple.
you're a kid holding this. It's the survival of the fittest.
Right.
Gracious. We would be interested to know if you've made it this far in our program, what kind of flashlight are you using? We know what Chuck's using, but what kind of flashlights are you using? Obviously, we have this nice Milwaukee. A lot of the guys here use this. It takes, as we've done our Milwaukee love before, it takes the actual same 18-volt battery pack that any and all of our other tools do, and it works swimmingly, pivoting every which direction. So when you go out on the trail, when you're wrenching on the weekend, what are you using? I see Dave says the Surefire here, from the rifle to shop. Nice. So, if you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, make sure to let us know. We're curious. Obviously, we have our opinions, but we always love to know what you guys are bringing to the table and using. A little bit of logistic information, not just the shirts, the stickers, all that kind of goodies that you can find on sfj4x4.com. But we are actually transitioning the podcast on YouTube to a new YouTube channel. This is strictly for YouTube algorithm purposes. Our podcast is actually really, really successful, and we are appreciating that. However, because of the length and duration and the kind of cataloging them, we need to move them over to a different YouTube channel versus our more infotainment SFJ 4x4 TV, where obviously we have all the cool product walkarounds, the marketplace reviews, the how to buy a Jeep videos, which we want to be doing more of here in the near future, those types of things. So look for the podcast to move over to its own channel, where if you want to find any of our fun, interesting content, you can find the podcast stuff over there. Chuck says he uses an ASP flashlight at work. Don't have a Streamlight charger, Greg. You're on your own with that. Perfect. Greg will figure that one out. So with no further ado, we hope you enjoy this podcast.
Don't forget next week's episode. We're going to be doing Jeep recovery stories.
Tell me, Italian Stallion. Tell me.
Jeep recovery stories. Send us your best recovery stories. We've got a few in. We want to get a few more.
We asked about 3 weeks ago. A number of people have provided. We're going to finally be doing that program for you. I may or may not be surfing shirtless and shoeless on top of Jeeps.
And I found the first time I went to Wellsville pictures
OMG.
It's going to be fun.
back in the
All
day.
right, folks. Well, we hope you enjoy this. We've got all the work to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the Jeeps to take care of. And with no further ado, we hope that you join us on your favorite streaming podcast or YouTube. Follow up with our marketplace reviews and other walk-around videos. Until then, Jeep family, Jeep on.
Jeep on.